Hi folks, welcome back to the Model 3 Man channel. I've got something I need to share with you today. We've been here in Cozumel, as you know, for 11 months now. Wonderful place, nothing against Cozumel, but for 11 months I've had bouts of depression. I feel a heaviness of heart. I've just not been feeling good. And Cozumel as a place is fantastic. It's everything we thought it would be. The scuba diving is amazing. People are wonderful. I've got involved in the community. It's really been a perfect retirement location. But I've been suffering for these 11 months now and finally decided the time had come I had to do something about it. So we looked around the island and I found a GP that I felt could be reliable. Basically, I just shared what I had gone through and what I was going through, and literally I had to answer all kind of questions that he put to me. Questions about when I left Canada, what had been happening at the time, what's happening now, just a whole lot of things. And he finally looks at me and he says, listen, I have a diagnosis based on the things you've told me, the events that happened in your life, the events that have been happening since then. I can tell you what's wrong with you. So I have to tell you, I was a little skeptical because that was a pretty quick diagnosis, and yet he seemed confident. And he said to me, Peter, I'm afraid that you've got what is quite a severe case of TDS. Now, TDS, to anyone who comes from America or Canada, stands for only one thing: Trump Derangement Syndrome. I laughed at first and I said, well, look, that's not possible. I'm a Canadian. I'm not an American. And secondly, given this weird election, it might be that he's the best person to sort things out. He only has 4 years he can run. So I'm not a hater. I'm definitely not suffering from TDS. No. I don't mean Trump Derangement Syndrome. What I'm referring to is Tesla Deprivation Syndrome. You've lost your Tesla. You've left it behind. You have no Tesla. You're driving this awful little Nissan Sentra that you don't like. You feel depressed every time you get into it. You need to get a Tesla. Well, I can't tell you how my heart lifted. It's obvious when I come back to think of it. So obvious. I loved my Model 3, Red Dragon. I had it for 6 years. I went everywhere in that car, right across the American continent, right down to the border of Mexico. I loved every minute of that car, and even the 2 accidents that happened, being hit from behind, and nothing my fault, but it was only a temporary removal of happiness as that car got repaired. But what a wonderful car it was. And now all I have to do is buy another Tesla. Obviously, you realize that this entire segment was tongue-in-cheek. I've known that I would be depressed not having a Tesla. But I have to tell you, and this is something that shocked me. I cannot tell you how depressing it is to go back from driving a Tesla, in my case it was a Model 3, just a 2018 Model 3, to driving a combustion engine car, an awful, noisy, smelly, terrible combustion engine car. And mine is a 2015 Nissan Sentra, 8 years old, all kind of things going wrong with it. I've had to replace the oil filter. The car bumps and knocks and rattles. I've had to take it in for servicing. All kinds of things are going wrong with this ICE car. And it's truly depressing to drive it. 6 years of driving a Tesla, and I'm telling you, you know exactly how depressing it would be to go back to an ICE vehicle. So there's the great news. My malady has a cure. TDS no longer. And what am I waiting for? You know it. You know, it's October the 10th, and it is hopefully the opportunity I've been waiting for when we will not only hear about robo-taxis and not only hear about updates to the bot, to the human bot, the humanoid, but we will be given that something extra, that one more thing that Steve Jobs always used to mention at his product launches. And the one more thing being the new, inexpensive Model 2, Model Q, whatever he chooses to call it, and a date when it will be out by. And a date, more importantly, when we can put our names on that waiting list. And I predict that will be the largest waiting list for any vehicle in the course of history. Here's what I wanted to do in this video, to tell you how it feels when you go back from a Tesla to a regular car. What are the things you miss most? I've just chosen 5, and I'm not going to take a long time. Number 1, obviously, full self-driving. Now, I had paid for full self-driving, and I had grown with every iteration, every software update, every new number, every update that came. I would test it, I would upload it to my channel. Many of you have seen many of those full self-driving videos. And it was getting so good. By the time I sold my Model 3, Red Dragon, it was just before the version 12, software 12 came out, where it began to behave like a human. Most of you will have seen that I went back to Canada to bring some of our goods, and I got a chance to drive in a Model 3, also a 2018, that had the version 12 software. And just look up in the corner there for a link to it. That was a revelation to me. It was what I had been hoping for, and of course now I'd sold the car, so my personal experience of it came to an end. But obviously, I've been watching AI Driver, I've been watching many of the big YouTube channels in which FSD version 12 and all of the new numbers of 12 that have come out, as well as the new Actually Smart Summon, has been brought out and is receiving such high praise. So full self-driving, I miss that absolutely. I miss that the most. And I'll tell you, once you've signed up for full self-driving and you've gotten used to it, you can't conceive of a time when you will want to give it up and go back to fully manual driving. Full self-driving is much safer than a human driver. And the second feature that I miss most about the Tesla, over-the-air updates. That excitement that came from every single over-the-air update that brought with it new features, new capabilities, new improvements, new experiences. None of the other companies, none of the other EVs have the smooth and flawless over-the-air updates that we've been enjoying as members of the Tesla family. Nobody else. When you buy another car, it is pretty much already outdated on day one, because that is the way it's going to stay. But with a Tesla, the way it is depending upon how many over-the-air updates you've had, what features they brought, what improvements have come to your car. It's a vehicle that just keeps on improving in amazing ways. Number 3, and this is really frustrating, it's all of the automatic behaviors in the car. You know, when I was driving the Model 3 and I jumped in the car turned on because my phone was with me and everything, all the systems came alive. I was able just to put it into drive mode, start driving. It released the handbrake, lights turned on if they were needed, the radio turned back on. It was where I left it. It was just as it should be. And when I came to a stop, put the car into the park mode and get out and walk away. The car applied the brakes, the car locked itself. I just walked away, lights turned off in the car and in front of the car. In other words, normal, beautiful, automated behavior where I didn't have to think. I got in or I got out and the car did what it knew it needed to do. And now I jump into the Nissan. I had to put it into park, put my foot on the brake, push the starter button, release the handbrake, turn on the lights. You get the idea. Everything is manual. Everything is the way cars were 30, 40 years ago. It hasn't changed. And a Tesla has these automated behaviors that just make it feel good to get into or get out of that car. I miss those. And number 4, I just miss the performance. You know, if you own a Tesla, that when you put your foot in the accelerator, the car leaps forward. It's always eager to jump forward, accelerate quickly, and take you where you want to go. Pass a slow vehicle in a lane. Pass on an uphill when you don't have a lot of opportunity to pass. You know that if you put your foot down, you'll be passed within seconds and you'll be safe. The performance around corners, cornering ability, the way it hugs the road, all of the aspects of performance, every bit of the drive was a pleasure, all of it. And in this car, don't get me started. I feel another fit of depression coming on. Gonna have to visit the GP again, I'm sure. It is awful. It's dreadful. It's noisy. There are rattles. Everything about it is just a pain in the neck to drive. The suspension is awful. It bounces around. It hits very hard over potholes and objects in the road. Just no fun. Lack of performance I miss tremendously. And finally, number 5, the technology advantage. Tesla is the only motor vehicle manufacturing company that has really perfected the software environment, all of the technology, integrating the different components of the car with the central computer that runs the car and all of the systems, whether it's audio, whether it's lights, whether it's the touch screen, it's mapping, it's all kinds of things. They're all integrated into the Tesla operating software of the car. And it's seamless. It's done beautifully. Other manufacturers, because they're buying from as many as 50, 100 different suppliers, each of those suppliers is responsible for ensuring that if there's a software component, that it works. But none of those suppliers talk to each other. There's no smooth synchronicity of the various pieces of hardware and the software that go with them. Updates are impossible. We have to look at this from the point of view of envisaging the car as a computer that just happens to drive as well, an exceptionally good computer on wheels. Tesla's mastery of technology, mastery of the software environment is unequaled. Nobody else has it. You just don't experience it in another car. There it is. You now understand the reason for my depression. But you know what? Living here really does help to overcome that. And I don't know how long Elon will take before the new model is out. I've heard that deliveries of the Cybertruck are imminent in Mexico. So I know that the new car will be released in Mexico. I just have to know how long do I have to wait. I'm going to upload a new episode soon, and it's going to be all about the 10th of October Robotaxi event. I'm going to give you my thoughts on it, let you know what I think is going to be revealed at that time. But for now, thanks for watching, and I will see you again soon. Cheers for now.